In Downbeat, down on his luck, drummer Mauro flees a trial of bad decisions and lands on his sister's couch in Boston. With no money and nowhere to go, he begins busking as a bucket drummer. As playing on the street brings small wins, he falls back in love with the freedom of pounding momentum that made him chase music in the first place. But Mauro pushes his luck pursuing a secret relationship that endangers his bond with his sister Isa, and bit by bit draws everyone into his own feral shortcomings. Downbeat is directed by Denny Madden, and he has directed films such as Beast and 15 Cameras, and Downbeat just debuted at the 2026 South by Southwest Film Festival, and it's notable to note that the film is written by the director and also 3 of the stars of the film. Daniel Rashid, who plays Mauro, the protagonist in the film, also co-written by the actress Addie Raywick, who plays his sister that he stays with in Boston, and also his sister's roommate who he begins a romantic relationship in his film, who played by Akira Chantharantananon. Downbeat is a pretty engaging and endearing indie drama set in Boston. Mauro, played by Daniel Rashid. At first he comes off as a bit of a loser, but as the film goes on, you begin to sympathize with his journey. He's a freelance drummer. He gets hired by musicians, both like popular and both not so popular, to provide drums in a music studio when a popular artist records their music. But the work where he's living in Atlanta is drying up, and he's kind of running away from a failed relationship, so he goes to Boston to stay with his sister and ends up sleeping on her couch. I really liked the brother-sister relationship between Daniel Rashid and Addie Raywick in this film. It feels like quite raw and real, and you get to know more about the relationship as the film goes on, especially in the final act of the film. And Isa, played by Addie Raywick, she's such a positive ray of light. She's always smiling. She's just always positive and always wants to have fun, always laughing. And the film has a nice the subplot about Daniel Rashid on the streets of Boston, like in a park, just playing. He's just sitting outside his apartment, and he sees like someone working at a restaurant throwing like big buckets into the garbage, and he's thinking, he just gets some beats in his head, okay, and he takes them from a dumpster and just goes to the park and just starts playing. He's a little bit self-conscious at first, but because there's not really anybody busking in the park at that time, and he starts busking, and then it gets people start throwing cash into his little thing, and then he gets the attraction of other like homeless or vagrants in the park, and then they get wind that he's making money, and then there's this like a whole other subplot in the film of these other homeless people or other buskers in the park, like competing with the space in the park. And Daniel Rashid, he's a real human. He's flawed. He can be selfish. He can be giving. He can be relatable. Sometimes you hate him, sometimes you don't like him. So he comes as a real flawed human character in this film. For me, maybe halfway through the film or the 1 hour mark of the film, my patience started to wear a little bit because the lack of plot. Because it's basically just Daniel Rashid staying with his sister and doing some busking, and there's not really a lot of plot driving the movie forward. But thankfully, in the final half an hour of the film, a lot happens in this film, and it's like he really gets into some struggles in this film. So thankfully for me, the pace really picked up in the final act of the film. I give Downbeat 3.5 stars out of 5. I definitely recommend checking out this film. Indie film Downbeat. It has a really real human, raw relationship between Daniel Rashid and Addie Raywick. It's a very relatable brother-sister relationship, and it really just captures that Boston vibe and that Boston vibe in this film. So I definitely recommend checking out this film Downbeat. It's a very engaging indie drama from Boston. Thanks for watching. What do you think of Downbeat? Please comment below what you thought of the film. See you next time. Bye.